I'm turning this back around because I wanted to show you something here that we could have done differently when we were working on these two little guys yesterday. However, the plan for right now is to try and raise this up enough that I can work on all the railing all the way around the gunnel, and we'll worry about the flagstaffs later. There is not too many places I can pick this up. I can pick it up from underneath almost anywhere, except that I can't get my hand underneath easily. I think if I grab hold of it right here just behind the anchors and try not to squeeze in on the railing, and then here at the back and lift up carefully, I should be able to lift it up. I can't remember the last time that we took the hull completely out of the cradle like this. I know I did lift up the stern so I could put on the propellers and the rudders, but I don't think I took it out. I just lifted it up on one end. This is sort of a milestone, sort of a special moment. It is noticeably heavier. Okay, now we'll put it back. And I think it'll Okay, my railing on the stern is coming loose here, but that happened before, so we knew we had to fix that. It looks terrible, but it'll be a fairly easy fix, I believe. Okay. Now, for right here. Okay, here's what I wanted to mention that I could have done differently. You remember in yesterday's video I was talking about I had to be careful not to accidentally unhook this piece that comes down. It goes to this little hook right there and it goes into a hole. It's not glued. Well, also, it is not glued here. It actually hinges right there. And I do believe that I might have had an easier time putting these little platforms on had I completely removed this and then put it back on. But as I say, it would have been a little bit of finagling to get the hinges to match up. But I mean, we did it before 6 times, right? As it turned out, this turned out. So one more thing, I just had a thought. I think I should maybe raise this entire hull up just a little bit more, and then I will be able to work on the flagstaffs while it is still in its cradle. I was thinking that couldn't be done, but I'll just get a couple of little cardboard boxes about 2 inches thick and put the towel on top of the boxes and just get it up in the air, and in that way I can still use the cradle to twist everything around. At least that's the plan. Okay, change of plans here. I don't think that this cardboard is going to harm the bottom of the ship. Well, forget this. There. Now we can work on everything. We can even repair little scratches. Yeah. And I should be able to turn it around. Okay. Let's try this out for real. We want to work on the fairlead on the other side. It came off right here. So we should be able to turn this around. Now I am going to have to watch, being as that it's about 3 inches higher, that I don't catch wires that are hanging down. So in other words, I have to move slowly and deliberately. Okay, so here's our little fairlead. Let's fix it. I am noticing two things here. Firstly, the camera is getting a much different perspective of everything, being as that the entire ship is about, I just measured it, 3 1/4 inches higher than it was before. The other thing is that my white paper that I use as a background on the other side, I have to be really careful now because it will catch on the little gangways that are on the other side. Yeah, whereas before, if you remember, we had that railing. Anyway, this is supposed to go, I think it was right about here. I'll just have to check here. I thought there was a mark on the deck, but I'm not seeing it anymore. Was that where it was? You know what? When I broke this off, we hadn't put the railing on yet. So that means that the railing has to be nipped off the bottom rail on one of these sections here. I'll get it in the same place as the one on the other side. So it's on the other side it is 1, 2, 3. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. So I'll have to nip the bottom railing off of this one right here, and then it'll fit in place. Well, that shouldn't be too hard. Okay, I realize this is not a real good angle for you, but I have to be able to get in here myself, and that's where it's going to go. So what I'm going to try to do is use my nippers here very slowly and carefully. Just take this bottom rail off right against the post. There's one. Now you won't be able to see the other one being done because I'm too lazy to move the camera around the other side. So I'm just going to have to guess. Okay, there we are. We got it. Now that shot turned out a whole lot better than I thought it was going to. How is this going to look if we do not cut off this bottom rail? Can I bring this out enough onto the gunnel here so that it's going to look believable? Just go one on each side here. Or is it going to sort of rock back and forth? It doesn't look good, does it? See, this fairlead is actually supposed to sit on top of the gunnel here. There you can actually see where the original little marks were, right here and here. Now I wonder, would I be able to come down at an angle like this, or am I going to damage the plastic? That didn't look too good, did it? Okay, how would it be if I took the hobby knife? Can I cut that soft photo etch brass railing? Sort of go like that. Did I get it? I think I did. Yes, I did. And I'll do the same on the other side here. Sort of rock back and forth here. There. Okay, now let's sort of See if we can just sort of clean this up just a little bit here. I guess I can always repaint too. Now should I? Well, let's just see what happens here. No, I can't get it off my knife. Something like that. Maybe if I could, whoops, it fell in. If I could move it back just a little bit. Oh, I'm gonna have to push stop. Okay, we're back. I just wonder if maybe there isn't some glue built up on there that's making it sort of rock. Kind of scrape it off here. I don't want to scrape the paint off the deck either. Okay, that's sitting pretty good, isn't it? You know what, I think if I was to put a little bit of CA medium there, right on that, underneath that, and then put it back down, I think it'd be just about perfect. Not as good as if we hadn't have broken it off in the first place, but I guess if you want to go back that way, go back that way. That's probably too much. Now I'm gonna watch that I don't drop it again. Okay, no more poking. Now I think if we get a little bit of paint on that and maybe I get rid of the sawdust that's around there, it's gonna look okay. Now I'm going to have to remember to use my camera rotator more often here because it makes things almost three-dimensional. At this very moment while I'm shooting this segment, it is quite early. In fact, it's not even 6 a.m. yet. Almost, but not quite. And I have been awake for, just over 2 hours. Woke up early this morning, wide awake. I knew I was not going to be getting back to sleep, so I thought may as well get up. Checked my comments, and somebody made a comment regarding Easy Line and CA glue, and suggested I try an experiment on some scraps. Well, you've seen these scraps laying on the deck here for, 2 months or more now. Ever since I started the rigging, I was storing little pieces on the deck. So if I needed a short piece, I'd know where to look for it. Anyway, let's just see what we can do here. So, okay, what's this all about now? And I'm trying not to speak too loudly here because I'm going to blow these little things around because I'm right on top of them more or less. But you notice our block here from the crane, it's hanging a little bit crooked because one line is longer than the other. Well, it's obvious. Now here's my little sample piece that I just made up. And same situation. It's clear that one line here, this one on the right, is longer than the one on the left. Now the thinking is that when you pull down on these, just let me get a pair of tweezers here. Guess I should have been more prepared. Okay, now the idea is that when you pull down on it and you pull it straight, everything kind of straightens out a little bit. Now the thinking is that if a person was to pull it down, hold it straight, and treat it with CA glue, when the glue cures, will it hold the line straight? I don't think it will. My experience with Easy Line is it's got a mind of its own. Sometimes something like that works, and then other times it won't. The only experiment I don't think I've conducted with it is trying it in water. Will maybe water-soluble glue have no effect on it? Well, we could do that after. We'll just put a drop of water on it and see what happens to it. We know from past experience what happens when you put Tamiya extra thin on it. I mean, it just came alive. It was like a little fish flip-flopping out of water. Anyway, let's just see what we can do here. I'm going to take these pliers here and grab onto it and just pull it down so it's straight. Now, if you like, you can read the comment in yesterday's comments. And the idea is you're supposed to take a toothpick and touch it at the bottom and let the CA wick its way up on both lines. Okay. Now, I don't think this is fair because the one on the right is just too damaged. So I'm just wondering if maybe I was to take my toothpick and just run it all the way up and down. Then it might stiffen, but then it might get worse. And as one of the viewers mentioned almost a year ago when we first started using this stuff, it will sometimes shrivel up like a dead spider. Anyway, let's just let that, we definitely got CA glue on there. Will it wick its way up that far before it hardens? I don't know. This is CA medium, by the way. Okay, got a piece of plexiglass down here. Another piece of scrap Easy Line. And this is just ordinary tap water. We have excellent water here in Winnipeg. You just put it on one end and see how it affects it. Now, I would say that is immersed in that droplet of water. It doesn't seem to be twisting or turning at all. So I'm thinking that possibly a water-soluble glue might actually work better than CA glue for what we're trying to experiment, providing that it will wick its way up the grooves of the Easy Line like ink in a fountain pen. It doesn't seem to be what you might say permeating the rubber itself. Okay, now I'm going to take a sample of Tamiya extra thin and put it on the other end. Oh my, it just wicked its way along real fast. Look at how it's affecting that. It seems to have even worked its way up the line in through the water. Is that possible? Let's just leave the camera run for a moment here and see what happens when it starts to dry out. I wish I had the macro lens on for this. It probably would have been easier to see. However, I didn't, and it's too late now, but it appears to me that the extra thin wicked its way up into the blob of water, and it either chemically changed the water. That's impossible. Anyway, you can see how the water has now wicked its way all the way along the Easy Line out to the other end. At least I think that's what has happened. Just let me get something to poke it here with, a needle or something. Okay, here's our water. That's still water. Now let me dry the needle. Now is this water over here? Yeah, it caused the water to be able to wick its way all the way along. I do believe a water-soluble glue might work better than CA glue. I'm not going to experiment with that, but I think that's probably what would happen. Anyway, let's check out our little piece of sprue that was hanging from the easy line now and release the clamp on it and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to try and carefully release the plier now so it releases the piece. Maybe that wasn't the best way to do it. Well, let's see what happens here. Get it untangled. Okay. Stop swinging. Well, it could be the one on the right is slightly straighter than it was before. As I mentioned, Easy Line seems to have a mind of its own. No, of course it doesn't. But it's just that some very small variable in your experiment will cause it to work different ways. And the only way to know for sure would be to do this maybe 100 times. Yeah, take a couple of days and do it 100 times, and then you'd know. But it's not really that important. I'm not going to do it 100 times. Now, as I've said at least 3 times before, this is not as bad as it looks. And the railing on this side has come loose probably back to about here. This is going to be real easy to put back on. These loose ends that you see here, the only place I can see where I might have a serious problem, well, it wouldn't be serious, but it'd be noticeable to me, is if when I try to straighten this one out, for instance, because of metal fatigue, it was to break off right there. Because I do want this to go around and fasten onto the leg of the flagstaff. So get this back out. Carefully get these out. I'm going to swing the ship around so I can see better and work at this and straighten it out off camera. I think it'll be a little safer. I was pretty sure that you did not want to have to watch me putting these railings back on again for the second time. If you remember back in the around episode 400, I believe we put them on the first time. Now I could probably go back into my inventory and find the exact file and we could watch it again just for old time's sake, but that would take a lot of time and I don't think I want to take that time right now. I want to get this ship done and get started on the case. I think it's time to put on the flagstaffs, at least the stern. We have a long one and we have a short one, but I'm pretty sure it's the long one here that goes on the stern and the short one goes on the bow. But I could be wrong and I want to double check. It was way back in step number 10 that we were supposed to put the one on the bow. That was back when we were doing the anchors. That seems so long ago now. And I do recall thinking, let's leave it until last, and that way there's little chance of breaking them off. Well, we didn't break them off, did we? Yet. And as far as the one on the stern that we're doing right now, well, that's step 16. That was a little bit more recent. However, I had decided the same thing. Don't put it on now. We'll just break it off. So let's put it on now and don't break it off. I was able to find a photograph of the Bismarck stern, and you can see here where the supports that hold the flagstaff up, the two ones furthest to the back sit on top of the fairlead, whereas the others, they sort of fasten onto the deck. I do remember seeing holes in the deck for on our Bismarck. Now, notice the railing, which in this case is chain. Well, I guess probably it was all chain. Ours looks like railing, but anyway, the lower one, it fastens onto the fairlead, and the two upper ones, they fasten onto the back support. Yeah, we'll just try and do it the same way. Oh, and it looks like there's something going across the back, about in line with the top rail or chain. I don't think we have that. We might have to maybe put something on there, or maybe not. We'll just see. There's a lot of stuff on the Bismarck that isn't on the model. I mean, we can't have everything, right? Well, you know, folks, we're going to have to cut this episode off. It's going on 27 minutes already. Okay, clearly it is this one right here. And I guess it plugs into the holes in the back there. Anyway, we'll do it tomorrow. Thanks for watching. And all being well, we'll see you tomorrow.